So, Frostrock came out about 3 weeks ago, and I was supposed to get my guide out 2 weeks ago, but unfortunately stuff came in the way of me doing that. But the guide is here now, so let's not waste any time. Also, sorry if I sound weird in some clips because I was still sick when I recorded some of this. Alright, so jumping straight into his kit overview, his basic attack is a very simple 3-hit combo. The only notable thing about this is that it is very slow, but the multipliers are above average. He also has a charge attack that when you charge it up, he spins forward doing damage to enemies. But the damage multipliers for this are very low, to say the least. His passive allows him to restore 0.5% of the damage he deals as HP, but the damage restored cannot exceed 2.5% of your max health. This essentially makes him the first self-sustaining DPS that we have in the game. Chili Pepper does not count. His special skill will send him forward a little bit and then slam the ground, doing damage in a small AoE. While the area isn't big, the numbers are. And finally, his ultimate is where things get a little complicated. His ultimate sacrifices 60% of his HP to increase his attack and enhance all of his abilities. For his basic attack, not only are the multipliers increased, but it is now a 4-hit combo and attacks a lot faster. Your charge attack is also stronger, but it doesn't matter. Your special attack is changed to a really fast 5-hit attack. Your dash does more damage. Oh, by the way, your dash does damage. And that's about it. To summarize, your basic attack is a 3-hit combo that is slow but powerful. Your charge up attack sends you forward, but it takes long to charge and doesn't do much damage. Your special skill is a tiny nuke, and your ultimate enhances all of your abilities, and your passive allows you to be self-sufficient on HP. Now, moving on to promotions. His first promotion will increase your attack by an additional 30% while you are in your ultimate, and after your ultimate ends, you will restore 25% of your HP. Your 4-star promotion will increase the damage of your non-ultimate special skill by 20%. And finally, your final promotion will allow you to apply a damage over time effect to enemies when you are in your ultimate. Each tick of the damage over time does 24% of your attack and whatever additional multipliers apply to it. And each stack lasts for 5 seconds, and you can have a max of 5 stacks. To summarize, your first promotion will give you extra attack in your ultimate and will heal you afterwards. Your 4-star promotion will increase your special skill damage, and your 5-star promotion gives you damage over time to enemies when you're in your ult. Overall, Frostrock has a very good base kit, so his promotions are toned down a little bit just to make sure he's not too broken. Now moving on to artifacts. Frostrock actually has quite a few viable options, but there are some that shine above the rest. His best artifact is obviously his signature Moment of Awakening. This artifact has attack as its default stat, which is obviously good for an attack scaling cookie like Frostrock. But its special ability will give you extra elemental damage for every 10% HP you lose, and will give you extra crit damage whenever you heal yourself. So you can clearly tell this was made for Frostrock because his ultimate makes him sacrifice HP and his passive allows him to heal himself. So maintaining uptime with this artifact should not be an issue. And no matter the build, this is generally his best artifact because he wants the elemental damage, the crit damage, and the attack. Now there really isn't much more to say about this because it just is his best artifact. It's made to work with his kit, and the stats that it provides are just the best in terms of his damage out. But the second best artifact is actually Opportunity Strikes. Now this artifact also provides a lot of attack as its default stat, but where this artifact truly shines is being a crit damage stat stick. At max rank, this just provides you a flat of 70% crit damage, and this is doubled to 140 when you are below 75% HP. Because of his ultimate, he will also be able to maintain pretty much full uptime of this artifact whenever it matters. While you don't get the elemental damage, you get a lot more, crit damage. And just because it gives a lot of crit damage doesn't mean it's better, because that just isn't how that works. But there's a big but here. The damage of these two artifacts and the performance of these two artifacts is very close. Unless you really like Frostrock and you want to get the absolute most out of him, you can use Opportunity Strikes because ultimately it is very, very, very close in comparison. If I remember correctly, it's like a 1 or 2% difference. So if you don't have the gems to pull for his artifact at max, then I would just stick with Opportunity Strikes because ultimately whichever artifact is the higher promotion is better. But when they're both maxed out, Moment of Awakening is the better option. Now his third best option is going to be Dark Choco's No Turning Back. He is actually the first cookie besides Dark Choco himself to be able to actually use this. Now this artifact also has attack as its default stat, but its unique ability is a little bit different, and it makes it so that way you gain extra crit damage and special skill and ultimate damage whenever you hit enemies with your charge up attack, hence why he is the second cookie besides Dark Choco to actually be able to use this. Now, while the effects themselves are actually very good, the issue is that he doesn't benefit from the ultimate damage, and while the special skill damage is not bad, a lot of his damage from his rotation comes from his basic attack, not his special skill. Does that mean it's bad? Absolutely not. If you don't have a good opportunity strikes or a good moment of awakening, no turning back is your next best option because it's ultimately pretty solid for him. Does that mean it's bad? No, it's not bad. It just isn't the most efficient artifact, but if you can't go anything else, then this is definitely a decent option. Now, there are a few other options that can work, but they just aren't as good as those three. The first one is Cream Soda's Fruits of Labor, which will give you attack whenever you hit enemies, and whenever you're at max stacks, you will get increased elemental damage. While the artifact isn't bad in a vacuum, in play, it just does not give that many stats. In honesty, this artifact needs to be reworked because no cookie can really use this because it's just not good. But it is your fourth best option if you don't have the other three that are mentioned. After that, there is Going Beyond, which is the infamous Tagger and Support artifact, but it does give you elemental damage if you have it equipped, and you also do benefit from the attack buff that it provides whenever you hit enemies with your ultimate. Then we have the two rare artifacts, Lonesome Moonlight, which is like your own artifact, Moment of Awakening, but instead of elemental damage and crit damage, it's a small amount of attack. And then you also have Warrior's Oath, which gives you extra elemental damage whenever you have Earth allies on the team. Ultimately, Frostrock actually has a lot of viable options for his artifacts, so he's not too tricky to build. But do keep in mind that Moment of Awakening is his best, with Opportunity Strikes very, very close by, with no turning back as your last truly viable option. Now moving on to weapons, like always, your best weapon is your unique, and in this case, it is called the Dry Ice Great Blade. The Tower Climber bonus this time around gives a lot of attack just like every other fighter. I really think they need to start switching this up because I'm gonna lose my mind. But ultimately, uniques are very powerful because they give a ton of stats and give access to a second hidden power slot, which is always nice. Now, if his unique just isn't a viable option right now for you, you can go the Candy Boomerang, the Choco Spear, or the Baguette Staff. Just like artifacts, he actually has a few viable equipment sets. Starting us off, his best equipment set is going to be the TBD uniform. The gist of this set is it provides a lot of attack and a little bit of elemental damage, with the only catch of that you have to be attacking a target that has a tag on it in order to get the extra attack boosts. Now, this set is only his best by a small margin, so it's not like it's so much better than the other options, but it will ultimately give you the highest damage output in boss modes. You already get enough elemental damage and crit damage from other sources, meaning this set just works perfectly because it gives you a lot of attack. This just makes him do more damage simply because of how calculations work, and somehow, some way it works out to be the highest damaging set. Overall, the amount of attack it provides is very, very good, though you do have to have a tagger on your team in order for it to work. But for a mode like Champion Raids or Extreme Boss Challenge, you should have a tagger on your team. The second best set is actually going to be Suspicious Hunter. Now, this set only loses out by a little bit, but what it does is after using your special skill, you get increased basic attack damage while also getting some basic attack damage on the headpiece of the set. Because a lot of Frostrock's damage does come from his basic attacks, though not all of it, which is why it is not his best set. That is why it is very good, because it enhances a very strong part of his kit. It also provides crit rate and crit damage, which is definitely very useful. Specifically the crit rate, because there is no other way for him to get crit rate besides hidden powers. So more is always better than less. Ultimately, these two sets are going to be viable in the same situations, but TBD will be better. Granted, there has to be a tagger on the team. Suspicious Hunter isn't bad, but it's just worse by a tiny bit. Now, the third and final truly viable set is going to be Forgotten Hero. He is the first DPS that is good to actually be able to utilize this set. This set makes it so that way after dashing, you get increased special skill damage, alongside providing special skill damage on the headpiece, and it also provides crit and crit damage like Suspicious Hunter. Now, Frostrock's special skill is actually very strong, which is why this set works, but it probably is going to be best in something like Infinite Labyrinth if he ever gets used there. Kinda like Suspicious Hunter, even though the set isn't bad and it does enhance a good part of his kit, because his damage is more spread out instead of just being in one place, it becomes a little bit more tricky to build him because of this. So Forgotten Hero is not his best set, besides in maybe Infinite Labyrinth if he ever gets usage there, but it is definitely usable. Now the final set worth mentioning is going to be Earth Descendant set. This is the standard elemental Earth set, and it's just alright because it provides a lot of Earth related damage stats. But kind of like Fruits of Labor, even though it's very easy to get value out of, it doesn't provide a lot of value in general, because its set effects just aren't that good. But this is definitely your go-to early game option if you don't have anything else. While there are some other sets that could work, ultimately sets like Mysterious Wanderer don't work because he doesn't attack enough or fast enough, which is also why Sugar Feather isn't viable. So in conclusion, TBD is his best set, with Suspicious Hunter very close behind, with Forgotten Hero right after that, mainly for Infinite Labyrinth potentially, and then you have Earth Descendant Vestment if these others just aren't available or you are new to the game. Now we're moving on to the hidden powers. For both TBD and the Earth Elemental set, you are going to want to run 1 elemental attack, 1 attack percent, 4 crit rate, and 2 crit damage. For Suspicious Hunter and Forgotten Hero, before your 5-star promotion, you want to run 2 elemental attack, 2 attack percent, 2 crit rate, and 2 crit damage. But if you are at your 5-star promotion, you instead want to use 2 elemental attack, 3 attack percent, 2 crit rate, and 1 crit damage. His hidden powers are quite simple, and due to his artifacts all giving relatively similar stats, he doesn't actually need to switch his hidden powers and his artifact. Alright, so where is Frostrock going to be used at? Now, the short answer is essentially everywhere besides Infinite Labyrinth, but he might find usage in a week or two eventually. I mean, Sugar Globe eventually got used in a week of Infinite Labyrinth, but you know. Generally, looking at what he does, he doesn't really have the kit to be considered good in Infinite Labyrinth, unlike a lot of the other slash DPS like Cream Soda and Dark Choco. They both have big AoE burst damage on their abilities and skills, but he does not have that. Sure, his basic attacks are AoE, and sure, both of his special skills are AoE, but it's a little bit different. His basic attacks are far too slow to find essentially any real usage or viability. I don't know why, but it's whatever. And unfortunately, his basic special skill is just too small of an AoE to find true usage in it. And while his ultimate special skill is actually quite good, it's not a nuke, so that is rough. Unfortunately, there just aren't a lot of high health boss enemies in Infinite Labyrinth, so Sing Durian just shreds everything, even if it's like a smaller mini boss. So I honestly just don't see much usage coming from Frostrock and Infinite Labyrinth, but he will find a lot of usage in those longer boss themed modes like Extreme Boss Challenge and like Champion Raids. He was clearly designed to be made for these modes, so it makes sense why he's good in them. This is like a grass is green kind of thing. Now, what is his best team going to be for these modes? Well, as of right now, Candy Drop is going to be his best tag partner, with Honey Bear being his best support partner. The only replacement you have for Candy Drop is going to be Twisted Donut, who is definitely worse, but you know, it's manageable, I guess. As for supports, almost any support actually works besides Lemon, because Frostrock already has a lot of crit damage, so it's just really not needed. But the most beneficial support that is not Honey Bear is probably going to be Blackberry, considering she does very similar things for him. Moving on to tips and tricks, there really just are a few things to keep in mind. First of all, be mindful of your special skill usage, because if you use your special skill in your non-ultimate form a few seconds before your ultimate is up and it's not up immediately when your ultimate is up, you might not get 2 usages of your special skill off in your ultimate, which is a huge damage loss. And speaking of your ultimate, first of all, when you're in your ultimate, be very careful not to take too much damage, because you do sacrifice all of your HP, or I guess not all of it, but most of your HP in order to go into your ultimate state. Now, the final big thing is that when you're in your ultimate and you're doing your basic attack combo, you can actually weave in a dash immediately after your final basic attack hits to kind of just get a little bit of extra damage in there and also act as an animation cancel. Despite being a DPS, Frostrock is actually very straightforward, so there's really no complex mechanics I need to talk about. Shivers as I look at Ice Mint Cookie. Anywho, that's all for now. If you enjoyed, a like and subscribe would be very appreciated. Also, remember to go follow my Twitter and join my Discord server. Okay, bye-bye!